What's good, everyone? This is Dev the Coolest.
And this is Ray Bay.
And this is JB.
And welcome to SlickTalk.
Hey. Hashtag SlickTalk.
With the hashtag. Thanks for joining us again for another episode. Today, we're going to just kind of like talk about some current events and catch up on everything that's going on.
I'm excited for.
Yes.
Because it's crazy. I feel like there's a lot of things that have been going on.
A lot of stuff.
There's a lot.
And I'm like, what is going on? This is the end of the time?
My CNN app was going crazy.
Black History Month was canceled because so many things.
About that, though, I was talking to somebody the other day, and I was like, that was good that all that happened last month. In a sense, to me, it wasn't good because it was Black History Month.
You said that, or your friend said it?
I was telling
good?
my friend this. I was like, it was good that happened because I honestly feel like we shouldn't be subjected to just 1 month throughout the year, or we shouldn't be celebrating just this 1 month of, things that we've accomplished over the years. I feel like it should be a daily thing that we do throughout the year. We can be like, oh, such and such did this during this time, or we can celebrate this in June.
I just wish that it wasn't as trash as it was.
Right.
Because, it is Black History Month, even though we should celebrate 365, 366 on leap year.
Yeah.
It's like February is the only month we really have, and this February was interesting.
Listen, this Black History Month, I want to forget it.
We can't forget it. No, we have to embrace it.
Was in February. You can't forget it.
That was great. I had a lit birthday, but I don't know if you heard, but there's people on Twitter talking about they're doing Black History Summer.
Yeah,
like they're taking over the
I didn't
summer.
hear that.
I mean,
I
that's
didn't hear
what
that, but I'm
Afropunk
for
is.
that.
Sure, barbecues
I'm
everywhere.
For that. They got Juneteenth in June, I guess. So that's that's gonna be a big thing.
Yeah. Sure, I'd rather it be in the summer.
Right,
when the sun is out.
Exactly. We having what is it? Barbecue at the lake and around Lake Merritt.
Oh, barbecue and Wild Black.
Yeah, barbecue and Wild Black every single Sunday.
That should be an event.
It is
an event.
No, like annually.
It is. I thought it was.
Is it?
Yeah.
I thought they did that one time.
Oh no! They've had that several times.
Okay.
Yeah. So I would start off by saying, like, was there something since you just want to erase this past Black History Month, Ray Bay? Is there something that kind of stood out to you during this month that was like a current event that was like really like had you, fed up and disappointed?
Jussie Smollett.
That was the biggest one that you were.
No, actually, R. Kelly's the biggest one. But R. Kelly, we've been talking about. Was it before February?
We've been talking about R. Kelly.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been talking about him since the 90s.
Yeah.
But it got big in February when he got indicted and everything. Mm-hmm.
Man,
that was just
R. Kelly. Yeah, definitely R. Kelly.
So, what are your thoughts on that?
When is he going to jail? I mean, when is he staying? When is he staying in jail? Because I mean, he can do at this point life.
Yeah.
I mean.
I will say that I don't foresee him doing life because he apparently has one of the greatest legal teams and he got away with
what money?
I mean, that's probably where his money went. He's been giving donations and everything. Yeah, that's how he was able to bail out the first time. That's how he was able to pay his, child support that he was past due. The second time, which was like $160,000.
Yeah, so like one person I feel like gave him the $100,000. Don't quote me.
Oh,
but
the
I
one
think
that
it was
ran a daycare.
One woman that like.
And my question is, how did she get $160,000 running a daycare? Because I mean, if that's the case,
how about you're running a daycare? He's
irony.
She's about to lose her business.
But I mean, daycare usually have to be like between 1 and 5, and I think his limit is like 12.
Yeah, he's 12, 13, maybe 14.
Perverted ass.
But I mean, I just hope whatever, I'm gonna let justice work its thing. Yeah. But going back to Jussie Smollett,
we can't even really.
I don't.
we can't really trust that. But hey. But going back to Jussie Smollett, it's interesting that the hype has kind of died down at this point, but it's still going on.
Yeah.
I still don't know what to make of it. And I'm just kind of waiting for the final verdict. Like, I don't want to pin him as guilty because the story is just kind of everywhere on both sides for me. Like, it's just kind of like the police kind of like rushed it and they got all this information in a matter of like 3-4 days. Yeah. When there's so many murders in Chicago that have yet to be solved.
Absolutely.
And
that was kind of scary to me. I'm like,
I feel like it was a way. I mean, again, conspiracy theorists. I think the police department was trying to promote themselves right there. And I'm still waiting to figure out what's going on. But I mean, all the they're talking about him doing 60 years or something. I'm
He
like,
has, how many counts does he have now?
16?
16 counts. And that's a lot.
that is a lot.
That is a
That
lot
went
of
from
counts.
0 to
I
0
don't
to
think-
16.
I'm like, what? I even looked in to see what counts they are
Yeah.
specifically because I'm like,
I know it was,
all you
one
did
of
was
them was
fake a
about
crime.
lying.
okay, so
But-
what else he did? He lying on the floor, lying, like
I'm still-
calling the police,
I
lying.
still
right?
want to see like the evidence.
Yeah.
Right. Like
What I
everything
mean-
is just kind of like thrown out there.
What I'm curious
Word
of
mouth.
is that, granted, all the evidence hasn't been presented yet. We still are waiting on facts and details.
still
and
very
everything
quiet,
like that.
too.
And he's still very quiet,
So-
which I think my personal opinion is that I believe him being quiet is a very, very smart
It's
thing.
very, very
Because
smart.
we've seen how we persecuted R. Kelly after his interview with Gayle.
Right.
So,
well,
I mean, rightfully so.
Right, but a hurt
Rightfully
dog
so.
will holler. You know what I'm
Listen,
saying?
clearly.
And he
hollered.
went
He threw a
off
whole
in that
fit.
interview. Like
Listen.
he looked like a child throwing a tantrum, and it was
Absolutely.
like. I mean,
Like, is this an
people can
audition
people
test?
can right. People can argue that there's just so much pent up anger that he has, blah 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 blah. But it's like, well, if you have nothing to fight against, if you're telling the truth,
Yeah.
you don't need to lash out like that.
Absolutely
The truth
not.
will serve itself.
Absolutely.
And that's one thing you can
So-
also tell, that he did not have PR team behind him because he didn't have the money to afford that. Because no lawyer or PR team will let him go to that interview.
No. So his PR, his publicist, actually went on Don Lemon and actually
Yeah, I
said
saw
that he recommended
He said that. He
R.
said
Kelly
he felt
interview.
like,
He felt like, it wasn't a bad thing for. He felt he doesn't have a regret for telling him to go on. I personally believe that it was a great recommendation for him to do the interview. What messed him up
should've
is
got
how
some
R.
prep or
Kelly,
something.
how R. Kelly like went off the Richter and was going crazy.
Yeah, he didn't
If
get
he
any
just
prep.
presented himself and was just like completely, just sane, I guess you could say, during the interview and didn't blow up,
Yeah.
then there could have been a perspective change, from the general public.
Yeah.
Because I think that was the main idea, is because everybody was going against him.
Yeah.
And the public not hearing his side of the story. So they wanted to have him present his side of the story before he went to court, because,
But
the
then that's-
jury pool has been,
Right.
tainted.
But
so
I guess
far.
that's going back to now, Jussie, we're kind of teetering back and forth, but I think the whole thing that we're getting at with both of these cases is that you need to shut up until you go
Absolutely.
to court.
Yeah.
Like,
and
yes,
that there's not a lot of information as well. too.
Right, and I get that point. Like the jurors kind of like have that, but that
Absolutely.
could. I mean, I don't know if
It's
that'll
not a
work in
good
his
thing.
favor.
As much
It could
information
have.
has been coming that documentary.
Yeah.
And then the past week, we're obviously, the jury is not going to be perfect.
Right.
So for them to just forget about the indictments that came against him in the 90s.
Yeah, back in the early 2000s.
And the 90s, and then the documentary surviving, R. Kelly or whatever it was, like there, you can't just forget that. You can't have a jury just be like, I'm gonna act like that didn't happen.
And the thing is, you can't even have the same pretty much charges come up against you again. Like, you got away with it once.
yeah.
And then now you're back in court for the same thing, but now multiple girls?
And that's his argument.
Multiple?
That is his
the thing.
argument. He's like, well, why would I do this again if I
Yeah.
already got cleared
And
of
that's
it?
like the same kind of argument people get that are guilty.
that are
they're
guilty
Yeah.
So
all the time. Like, why
I'm
would
not
I
a
do that?
believer.
That would be stupid. You could easily catch me.
No, it's
But
because
anyway.
you thought you could get away with it because you were R.
Yeah.
Kelly.
So just my
Right.
last question, and this is concerning the Jussie Smollett case. With all the information that you know thus far, Ray, with everything that's come out, I don't know how much information you know specifically, but like with all the information that you have so far, what kind of judgment do you come up with if you had to make a judgment? What would you say?
If I had to make a judgment,
With everything that you know that he's done, that they've said he's done, allegedly, as well as, the reputation from the Chicago Police Department.
Oh, the glorious.
The glorious Chicago Police Department.
I feel like I really can't tell because the information went back and forth like a tennis match. Mm-hmm. At first, like, oh, he paid him off. Then they was like, no, he paid for personal training. And then they were like, there was so much going on. At some point, I'm like, I'm gonna wait for like the facts to come out on a piece of
Exactly.
paper
Yeah.
before I make, an informed opinion.
Piece of paper.
Right.
Because people just came out and started saying stuff.
Absolutely.
And also, social media is not helping at all.
At all.
That's one thing I definitely did is like pick up social media way less.
Yeah.
Because every time there's like, debates and stuff. And
Yeah.
it's not even about if he's guilty or not guilty anymore.
Yeah.
It's about like this. Something.
I think the mob mentality kind of like spilling into that. It's like one side versus another.
It's like a popular. It's like a news popularity thing,
right?
Yeah.
And you don't know if the news is telling the truth because you know the news does things just for ratings.
Absolutely.
So I'm like, can
like
I
the
get?
actual story just got diluted with all these like.
It went away,
and then it went away exactly because now what are we talking about? I mean, we're talking about it
now
right.
because I'm not letting it go. This is an interesting story.
Well, absolutely,
and
it affects our community.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like
in saying that, Ray. I mean, Dev, the coolest. What do you believe? Have you came to a conclusion?
No. Like I said, I'm with Ray Bay in the sense of like I'm just waiting for it to all happen. You know, I want to hear the final verdict, and then even then, it's kind of like
a little shaky.
It's a little shaky. You know what I'm saying?
Knowing
like
everything and
like it was such a dramatic experience, traumatic and dramatic. Like it was just so much, like the noose and the bleach and the spitting and the this is MAGA country. Like it was just like
so dramatic,
so much.
Yeah, it was just
for it to be like, and it was 2 a.m. negative, however many degrees, and like it's just kind of like I don't know, like, and I feel like the police is looking for stuff to kind of just like pin that versus what really actually happened. Like, oh, you wrote him a check, so that check was for them to.
Yeah,
it's just too crazy for me, and I'm kind of like just done with it until everything is out and said.
I think you guys take on it and not coming to a judgment so soon without knowing the facts is very responsible.
Thank you.
Oh,
I think it's very responsible. No. I think it's
Thanks.
very, very responsible. I feel like it's the great response, the politically correct response. Because truthfully, we don't know all the facts.
Right.
But for me specifically, I'm not perfect.
And we've all
I can speak
lied.
for a lot of I can speak for a lot of people that I'm sure are like me and that have jumped to a conclusion without knowing all the facts and say that we are not perfect with coming to a conclusion already without knowing all the facts.
Yeah. Right.
So just saying that, my conclusion is that I believe that he did lie. You know, from the facts that have come out, I truly believe that this is a fabrication. What was really hard for me to digest is the reason behind those actions.
Yeah.
So usually when, somebody does something like this or lies or, commits a crime, there's always a motive, right? So going to court, usually they look for a motive before they even, charge someone for doing a crime.
Yeah.
You can't, if there was a murder and you don't have any witnesses or it's not complete evidence out that this person does that, during their investigation, they, conduct an investigation, they say, what was the motive behind this? You know what I'm saying? And they locate the motive, and then that's when they...
Somebody been watching Law and Order?
Like that. Oh, listen, I love Law and Order, SVU. But so in saying that was, not to go too long on it, but that was what was difficult for me at first to say that, he did do it because I didn't realize a motive. And then I started thinking about if I were in the position he were in, and I felt like my career was possibly going to be taking a back seat because of whatever the case may be.
That's just so stupid.
If I would do that as well, I wouldn't necessarily go that extreme.
That's just so
but I know
stupid.
I would. Yeah, it's stupid.
Like you feel like your career is going to be over after Empire, even if you are wrote off. So many people have been written off shows left and right, and they're still prosperous actors.
Yeah.
Like it's like
But from the outside looking into the entertainment industry, we know how very, very finicky and fickle it could be for a black gay man in that industry.
That's very true.
Yeah.
So knowing that, I'm sure he's baffling his head. Like after Empire, my music is not doing that well. I'm probably not going to get casted for any type of movie roles because people only really recognize me from Empire.
Yeah.
So what am I going to
not for a little while.
Not for a little while. So what am I going to do to make sure that my name is still relevant in the public and that there's empathy and sympathy for me for this happening to me? So just that in my head, and then all the inconsistencies, I'm like, I'm pretty sure he probably did it. I'm not 100% sure, obviously, because I don't know all the facts. But in my mind, that's what's coming directly to it. I pray for him. I pray for the situation. I wish it didn't turn out that way, but it is what it is. I just hope that the people affected, like his family, just get some closure.
They
and
everything. A statement. Like yeah. And that's I will say that's why real quick. That's why we took him off, because some people have been asking why did we remove the post on our page. It's because we are still waiting
Absolutely.
Because we don't want to jump. We jumped the gun initially because it was just such an emotional impact on us being members of the LGBTQ community that we wanted to make sure that we spoke out and said something about it. But
it's a story that we're very familiar with too.
Yeah,
I think that's the other thing.
Yeah, we can't take that.
It was not far-fetched that this could have happened.
Exactly. So there was an emotional attachment to that story.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Now, what actually comes of it, we may or may not post something back up, but that's neither here nor there. We just, like JB said, we're praying for him and the family.
And
I hope
family
if he did do it, just give him a fine.
Yeah.
Let him walk.
We all lie.
Exactly.
Well, it
doesn't excuse him, but we all lie.
It doesn't excuse him, but there are people walking out of, a courtrooms with a slap in the wrist for doing way worse things.
Exactly.
I mean, speaking of which, these people, the college admittance.
Oh, yes. Oh my goodness!
Do y'all think they were lying?
I definitely don't think that they should get a slap on the wrist.
What's going on?
I don't think they should. I'm pretty sure that they will. Because of their celebrity and their money and everything like that.
And they got influence in politics. Yeah, they're gonna get off with a slap on the wrist.
So maybe Jussie just didn't have his base the way he needed it before he went ahead and lied. Because they have they have a foundation.
But going to that point though, which leads us to that topic, Ray. How do you feel about that? Because I know you and Dev specifically have, you guys are college educated. You guys both went to some, probably not like Harvard or the colleges that these white kids were getting into, but you guys definitely went to some dope schools and, got your degrees and everything and worked hard. And I remember, Devery during his journey, for grad school and everything or getting to grad school and everything like that. I just want to know how you feel about the situation. Do you feel like,
I wasn't shocked at first. I mean, I'm shocked that they even came out with the story, white people getting caught for something like this, especially wealthy. I wasn't shocked, but as I started thinking about it, I got angrier. Because there are so many people of color suffering in these spaces without the resources, and they're still making it happen. They're getting their master's, doctorate degrees, they're getting their PhDs, and they're coming out with a whole lot of debt. Yeah. And kids that are coming from wealthy families are literally, their way got bought in.
Yeah.
And some of them didn't even know.
Yeah.
So it's like their parents are trying to save their ego, but at the same time, why? If you have all this money, really your kid does not even need to go to Harvard.
Yeah.
But it's for the status. My kid is Harvard educated.
Absolutely.
When you're really not.
Yeah.
And then it makes me think about, is this how we end up with presidents like Bush,
Or like Bush or like Donald Trump, right? Didn't he go to school or get some education at one point?
I truly don't even care.
Well, we don't have to care, but
I know, but no, you're right.
I think he definitely went to school.
But George Bush, he went to he went to an Ivy League school, but he graduated with a 2 point something.
Yeah.
And so it was just kind of like he has that name, but it's like you didn't.
And a lot of people get in the school from, I guess, legacy.
Yeah.
Right, legacy.
That was a conversation as well.
There's different quote unquote legal ways to buy your child into school, like buying a wing of a library or.
And you think about how people focus so much on how do you call that again? Affirmative action. And how that
which is necessary.
It is.
The hell?
Clearly, I mean, because
listen, the stacks are even higher now once this came out. I mean,
but were we really surprised?
Were you surprised?
I wasn't.
I wasn't surprised that it happened.
I wasn't surprised.
But it's just to hear the stories and how much it was so careless.
I'm happy that it's brought in the light.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's not hidden, quote unquote. But I've always known going through school. It's how did you get here? Who are you? And they know some of the kids know it too. So it's
So playing devil's advocate, if you guys were, I'll answer the question first, and then you guys can elaborate and answer the last one. If we had kids that we wanted the best for them, that we wanted them to go to an Ivy League school because we understand that having that on your resume or having that in your background, it puts you a step above, right? It opens up a lot of doors. So knowing that information, if we had the influence and if we had the money, I guess, will we kind of try to cut corners as well without being, not believing that we're being illegal or doing something illegal? for me specifically,
Come on, specifically.
I believe specifically. No, I'm just kidding. I believe that I honestly would do as much as I can to make sure that, my child, has a bright future and that, they can have all the doors that they want open for them. But I think that comes from the fact that I'm a black man and I know how hard it is for us anyways, without having, with even having that on our background, it's still, doors are harder to be open when we don't. But when we do, it's still doors are hard to be open, hence why they have affirmative action, things like that in the workplace. So I probably would, do some things like, make a donation or add a wing or like, do something. I just, at this point, I probably would even go to an extreme of, trying to pay somebody to, but I also would have, it's a mixed thing for me because I also would have confidence in myself that I would be able to raise someone that would seek a tutor or do anything that they need to do in order to get to an Ivy League school.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, you want the best.
I get that.
Like,
I think that's ultimately doing your child a disservice though, because like there's beauty in the struggle of coming up through school, through whatever type of school, even if it's public or private, and getting into school and experiencing that struggle versus, experiencing continued privilege. And that's essentially what will happen if you are getting paid. The schools are getting paid for you to get in, and it's like, well, you're not experiencing how as it really is.
I think also we would have to question on like the differences between the schools as well. Yeah. I think that's because I totally get your point. There's definitely in like the Ivy League versus like, just a regular state school. Because obviously there's definitely a huge difference. There's a beauty in the struggle. Yeah. And like to be able to get, struggle getting into college and passing college. But if there's not a huge difference in the curriculum or like the things that are taking part in the schools, the only main difference is the name of the school.
Oh, absolutely. The name is a big thing. I was watching The View today, and like Google and Apple, they won't even look at you unless you went to an Ivy League school.
That's what I'm saying. So knowing that, it's like you can still very well struggle in an Ivy League school as long as you're accepted. I'm just trying to get you just in there. So as soon as you're accepted, it's up to you to struggle through college to get there. I'm not going to hold your hand the whole time, but I feel like that what they were doing is just making sure their child was accepted. And then whatever happens from getting accepted is on them and their struggle in whatever college you go to.
Well, that's the thing. If you're doing all of that for a child, you're setting them up to fail, or you're just setting yourself to pay a whole lot more money to get them through those years of college, because the mindset that you develop in the grind, it's something that you need throughout your entire life. There's a point where you're going to leave this earth and you're going to leave your child with the mindset that is not going to go any further. Whatever legacy you're trying to build for your family is probably going to stop with them. For me, I believe in raising your child to do whatever they want to do. So I want to find out, what do you want to do? What school are you thinking about going? And where are you at? Like, I have a growth mindset. Like, what tutors you need? What are you struggling with? And if we don't do that, no matter how much money you throw at somebody or whoever it is, you're going to get them to some points, but your kid's probably going to be like just privileged and not able to do anything in life.
Right.
That became the president of the United States. We can't blanket obviously we can't blanket everybody that goes through that struggle.
We're generalizing.
But the thing is, they'll always like...
I get what you're saying. I completely agree.
You know that you're not all
obviously
that
would be the best way, because you want your child to, grow up to... know that they're struggling. And a lot of our family specifically, we know about the struggle and going through everything, because we're just Black in America in general. Yeah. So, but changing topics slightly, but still being on current events, I want to know what I've seen recently on the Neighborhood Talk. Right? You guys follow Neighborhood Talk?
Yeah.
Okay. Neighborhood Talk is it's kind of like similar. It's just like a blog on Instagram that talks about current events and posts different things.
You said social media.
Yeah, social media. Well, anyways, they posted this post on Jordyn Woods. basically saying that she's getting a lot of offers for endorsements from people all of a sudden after the scandal and everything.
Oh, and the boatloads.
The boatloads. That they said boatloads of like offers for people wanting, her to endorse, certain products and everything like that. So I'm curious to know, first of all, what you guys believe, and obviously I'll discuss it as well, on that situation. If we feel like, after her interview with the Red Table Talk, that she was telling the truth of everything that she said, or she was lying, and if we think that it's right that after she essentially, did something wrong in a lot of people's eyes, that all of a sudden she's still, being, held as this great person and receiving these offers to endorse certain products. So first, do you believe that?
Yeah. Well, I don't think that she was lying, but I don't think she was telling the full truth.
Okay.
I feel like everything she said was true, but she probably omitted a few things. Like she didn't.
Which is, natural for people. Like, you're gonna be in the public eye. There are certain things you'll hold.
Yeah.
But you know what? I was watching that interview, and as sincere as she sounded, I feel like there was some stuff held back.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you can also tell sometimes when she was talking, her eyes kind of went to the side. When she was
come on, facial recognition stuff. What do you call it? Her eyes went to the side. She scratched her head a little bit. Yep, that's a lie.
Like when you're shaking your head, yes, but your eyes go right, and you're looking at the person that's interviewing you, or you close your eyes when you say something. I pick up these cues. I'm like, it makes me want to think that you were lying about some stuff or keeping some stuff back.
Of course. Just like you said, they're going to keep, she's not going to tell the whole truth. I mean, she probably was doing coke in there too, low key.
They were up till what time? That was an after party that they went to. So they were at the club and then they went to his house.
Exactly. So she was doing something to stay up. But I don't expect her to tell every single
y'all
detail.
Put a lot on
she was doing some Molly.
She was.
We're spreading rumors. Don't believe that.
I mean, it was a possibility.
What I'm saying is I just feel like the backlash that she received for her actions, especially as a very young woman who's at a party, who does regular young adult shit. Everybody has fucked up in a way where you kiss somebody you're not supposed to.
Right, she's only 21.
Yeah. So I just
what were we doing at 20? You know what I'm saying? Like, baby.
What really? I think it was what I was more focused on is like how she was demonized in media by the Kardashian, like Khloe Kardashian specifically.
Yeah.
And you can tell that she was doing it for popularity.
She was on her head way more than she was on Tristan's, though. I think that was the bigger issue.
Was that a surprise?
Well, it's not a surprise, but I feel like that was the biggest part of the backlash. It's like, girl, like, where you man? You know what I'm saying? Like, why are you writing this?
She was more worried about being embarrassed. And so that's why she went after her like that.
Well,
she didn't care about if she was cheating. That's a known fact.
I still want to know if O.J. Simpson is her daddy.
Oh. See, now that's spreading. No, I'm just kidding. O.J. Simpson is her daddy.
Don't they favor each other a little bit?
Okay.
O.J. and Khloe Kardashian.
The fuck? But yeah, just I'll say last is I believe that something more did happen at the party. But if something more happened, I mean, it is what it is. Like shit like that. I mean, they're no different from any other regular human being that ends up sleeping with a friend. And
she doesn't need to be.
She's getting her coin. I'm for it. Whatever she can come out with a lipstick. I don't wear lipstick. I'm about a bitch's lipstick. Period.
Not buying a lipstick and just have it.
Just have it in my drawer.
Right.
Listen,
buy it for somebody.
Black
exactly. I know. I could buy for my mom or sister or anything.
But yeah, that was awesome. Well, we're in the middle of a lot of stuff going on.
A lot of stuff.
Every day there's
for
something.
2 days talking about this shit.
I think it's interesting how things kind of like come and go though, because even Jordyn Woods isn't really being talked about anymore. Yeah. But as things come up,
that's not interesting. That's the world.
That's
just
the world we live in now.
now.
Yeah, things
Short
are just so like fast. That says a lot about how we are as a generation. But
before we go,
we
do want to send our condolences to New Zealand.
Yes. The Muslim.
Yes.
The mosque that was attacked.
The mosque that was attacked and everything like that. That's
tragic.
And we don't want to focus too much on that because it's a sad situation. But I know that we all want to bring awareness to that and send our condolences to that part of the world. And
I can't believe that's still happening.
It's a testament to the world.
Yeah.
And
where are we heading?
I don't know,
but yeah. So
yes, our hearts go out to New Zealand and the affected families and friends and loved ones. But we do appreciate y'all for listening to Slick Talk, and
absolutely,
like we said, we're going to keep talking about current events as they're happening because current events are always current because we're current.
Yeah,
can also. I mean, depending on the topic, we also could probably add a few current events before we start discussing whatever we're talking about.
That's a good idea
because I mean, so much stuff is coming out daily, and we know you guys are interested on what our take is. You guys always want the tea.
We interested on y'all's too, though, because
exactly,
you know, comment on some stuff.
Period.
But anyway, thank y'all so much.
I have to actually keep up.
Period.
Yes, you do. Thank you so much for listening to Slick Talk.
Thank you, guys.
We appreciate y'all
Thank
so
you so
much.
much.
See y'all in 2 weeks.
Right. Cheers.